A special night today as we honor Ken Taylor and Jay Williams with their induction into the MAAC Honor Roll. Both were instrumental in the growth of MAAC basketball and were key components of our early success in Albany and later as we moved to many venues throughout the Northeast. Jay Williams was something I inherited from Don DeJulia, my predecessor as commissioner. I soon realized he was going to be an instrumental part of the relationship I was going to have within the MAAC because he was the only one that knew how anything worked.
My boss, Don Cook at Fairfield, and Don DeJulia, who was the commissioner of the MAAC at the time, decided that I would be a good selection to be basically what at that time was the PR director for the MAAC. I accepted the position. And since the two Dons, were such good friends, they decided that it would be great if I actually worked both jobs for 6 weeks, which I ended up doing. And then Rich came in, and obviously Rich and I got along very well. Rich had a lot of great ideas. Back in the day, it was Rich, myself, a secretary, and an intern. So there were 4 of us. So we would do everything.
As we worked together on adding new member schools, finding new venues for the basketball championship, ultimately moving into the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany in 1990. We had a 12-team tournament for the first time ever. So Jay was so important to get that done.
If you're talking in terms of the defining moment, I think the first NCAA championship that we hosted was probably that, which was the 1995 NCAA first and second round men's basketball tournament in Albany at the newly opened Knickerbocker Arena. We were able to take that and use it to get future championships because we did such a good job for the NCAA. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy to see all the people streaming in the streets of Albany and knowing that we had a lot to do with that. It was great. I was also in charge of MAAC football. It was really a lot of fun. It was a good league. One of the cool things we were able to do is my good friend Tom O'Jackson used to be the programming director at ESPN, and I suggested to him when they had Monday Night Football, why don't we do a prelim game to Monday Night Football and have it be us? We actually did a Duquesne-Iona game as a lead-in to Monday Night Football on Halloween night in probably 1995 or 96.
It is a beautiful night here in Pittsburgh on the campus of Duquesne University, where the Iona Gales have come calling in this key Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, or MAAC, matchup. Hello everyone, I'm Jerry Punch, and once again we here on The Deuce are bringing you the first ever live national telecast of a MAAC football game.
We also had a deal with Channel 55 out on Long Island, and it was tape delayed. We had a couple of games that were too far to get the tapes there by driving them. So I had to have a plane take the tapes down to the airport. I picked them up at Islip Airport. I ran them to the studio, ran back, the plane ran back, got the second half tape. I ran back to Islip Airport, got them, and ran them back to the studio. It was a little different than we do things now.
Jay was just a name I heard right from day one I started the MAAC. You know Jay Williams? And I quickly got to know him, and a great guy and somebody that I could talk to and who could kind of appreciate the uniqueness of what it's like to work at the MAAC.
Ken basically did a lot of the same job I did a few years after me. You know, we always call him Puck because he's a big hockey guy and really good guy. And I was happy that he was able to carry on the tradition. Ken's done really good things at Monmouth, and I'm happy to call him my friend.
Ken Taylor came to us in 1999, fresh out of school at Michigan as a MAAC fellow. Ken was one of those first fellows. He was a special guy right from the get-go. We were getting ready to host the NCAA Frozen Four for the first time in Buffalo, and Ken was the only one that knew anything about ice hockey. So immediately as a fellow, I had some important functions to serve within the conference.
I really loved doing the NCAA events. I'd say the first big one I did was the 2003 Frozen Four. So that was a chance to show that given the right stage, we could do it just as well as anybody else could. So I really enjoyed that. That turned into to basketball.
Ken stayed with us for I think some 15 years, and he did indeed run basketball basketball for us for many, many years, and helped grow the league even further with ESPN relationships and with our ability to host NCAA championships. And so, important part of our culture.
2007, 2010, 2014, got to be tournament manager, and those were long days. There was a lot of hard work, but so rewarding because you really got a chance to create the biggest stage. It really is the biggest stage the NCAA has with March Madness. Easily the most fun game I was ever at was in 2009 when Siena beat Ohio State in the first round. As a Michigan grad, that was extra gravy on a great win. Ronald Moore hitting 2 3-pointers, one to tie the game in the first overtime, the second to win the game in the second overtime. You're not supposed to cheer when you're sitting on press row, but we may have been guilty of a little bit of rooting and maybe a little applause when those shots went in.
We saw him marry Sandra Sapone from Manhattan College, and that's a fun part of the job to see that development.
I met my wife, Sandra, really through the MAAC, and so we, of course, met through work, and we eventually got married. I can associate when both my kids were born. When Catherine was born, I was supposed to be running the MAAC softball championship. When Samantha was born, I was sitting at my desk, and my wife called and said it's time to go. And so, those are 3 defining moments.
When he left us to join Mom at the university, we understood that was the chance for him to get on campus, renew that experience as he continues his career path.
If it wasn't for the MAAC, I would have never made it to Monmouth, and I have a terrific Monmouth family, and I really appreciate the opportunities that they've given me. It started right off the bat. First basketball game of the year was at UCLA, and King Rice told me during the summer at some point, he said, "Hey, I just watched some film." I said, "I think we can compete with UCLA." Sure enough, we pull out the game in overtime, and I realized how lucky I was because I got to see it firsthand.